Practice with the pencil in mouth. Today, from the book 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. The gap is a lens by which you measure what is against what could be. In the gap, you are measuring what is against what you believe should be. When you are in the gap, you are measuring yourself or your situation against an ideal. This happens so much that it is a conventional mode of operating for most people. Take, for example, my children who come to the dinner table when it's time to eat. Sometimes they will get to the table and let out a huge sigh of disappointment that dinner isn't something else. Rather than appreciating the meal mom worked hard to make and the fact that they have a nice home, a nice family, and a warm dinner to eat, they devalue the whole experience because they are measuring it against some arbitrary ideal in their mind. Now, let me be really clear because this is a highly nuanced yet simple idea which can be easily misunderstood. Being in the gain, which we will go into more in a moment, isn't simply about being grateful for what you have and where you are. Despite not being gratitude, being in the gain does trigger an enormous amount of gratitude among other things, including confidence, wisdom, inspiration, and excitement. The gap and the gain are not about gratitude or lack of gratitude. Being in either the gap or the gain is purely about how you are measuring yourself and your experiences. I will detail the effects of measuring yourself in the gap first, then explain the positively transformative effects of measuring yourself and everything else in the gain. Dan's client was measuring himself, his life, his wife, and his business against an ideal in his mind. He was upset and frustrated that he was not where he thought he should be. By measuring himself against his ideal, not only was he devaluing where he currently was, but he was also devaluing his entire past. When you are in the gap, then your past becomes a problem. It becomes a nightmare because your past is not what it should have been. You are not where you should be as a person. Having a problematic past doesn't support creating a bigger future. On the contrary, having negative energy, emotions, and created meaning about your past only perpetuates the fact that your future won't be any different. Not surprisingly, this client's gap mindset ended up corroding and destroying everything he claimed mattered to him, leading to his inevitable divorce and loss of ambition. Eventually, chasing ideals stops being fun when you have made it your habit to measure yourself against them, feeling the burden again and again and again of never being enough. When my children were upset about the dinner on the table, they were measuring their experience against an ideal in their mind. As a result, they not only devalued the benefit they had just received, but they were also worse off emotionally for having gotten dinner. That is the disturbing part of being in the gap. You have technically made progress, but you feel worse as a result because of the framing you have placed on that progress, measuring it against what it should be. You can be in the gap about anything, and usually people who tend to be in the gap are in the gap a lot. Perhaps the most destructive form the gap can take is when you are in the gap about other people, wherein you only see where those who support you, like your employees, are not measuring up. While writing the gap and the gain, this point particularly hit me hard. I am father of 6 kids and I realized how often I am in the gap about my kids, especially the ones we adopted a few years back through the foster system. When I am in the gap about my kids, I am measuring them against ideals for where I think they should be. Most certainly, though, when I am in the gap about my kids, I am not seeing all the ways they have actually grown and progressed, either short term or long term, which are substantial. Thank you. That's it for the day.